Welcome to the Millennial Body Image Project, where we dive into the unique and messy body image journey that continues to shape our generation.
We're here to flip the script on toxic wellness culture, challenge weight stigma, and tackle the intersectional forces that shape how we see our bodies and our health.
Because your body is not a problem to be fixed. We're here recording the first episode of the new rebranded podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to the Millennial Body Image Project. So if you have been sticking around since the days of Real Talk with Dana or Wholehearted Eating, this is the third iteration of our podcast. And as you all know, we have drastically evolved in our personal practices and nutrition philosophies over the years, and the podcast has evolved as well. So we're here to talk about what's coming up, where we've been, where we're going, and what's staying the same and what's evolved.
And maybe you guys want to throw it back and understand, why did we rebrand and rename the podcast to begin with? What inspired all of that? And so I'm really excited about this rebrand. We've been working really hard on it, and it's been something that's been brewing since January and quietly brewing. And you guys have we did drop a little Easter egg back in February that no one knew about, called the episode on why millennials can't love their bodies. That is really the episode that kind of triggered a whole cascade of events that led to today. And when we came up with the idea to do that episode, and when we were writing it and outlining, we put a lot of effort into each episodes. I don't know if you guys know that, but we outline everything. We think about the idea, the topic, the things that we think people are going through. And then when we wrote that episode, we wrote an outline that was like 15 pages long. And we basically said, whoa, this is not just an episode. This is an entire other podcast. And we had been feeling for a while like there's something really personal to the millennial experience when it comes to our relationship with food. And after working with thousands of women on their relationship with food, we just came to realize that these relationships wouldn't be as complex as they are if it really wasn't for our body image. And we tend to think of our bodies as a project, as a report card, and all of those things. And we feel like this podcast and that episode in particular, like, why can't we love our bodies as millennials? We really want to facilitate an undoing and reshaping of that belief system that we've been carrying around for so long, one episode at a time. And like for us, that was just such a big moment and an aha moment when we wrote that. I think we literally wrote at the end of the outline, oh my God, do we have a new podcast?
Yeah, and Cristina calls these beautiful mind moments when I typically have these, and it'll be one specific topic and then 10 single space pages in Google Docs later. And in this specific instance, it was supposed to be one episode that was the beginning of a series. And then we were like, wait a minute, this could actually be a multi-season podcast. And so then we go into, this is the story of why we wanted to rebrand the podcast. But why millennials specifically?
Well, why us?
We are millennials ourselves, and we see that there are many struggles that are very unique to the millennial experience, both in our personal experience, but then also professional experience in working with thousands of women over the years, right? When you think about the millennial experience and recognizing that body image struggles are deeply rooted within intergenerational experiences, the medical system, wellness culture, and constantly changing beauty standards that have bombarded us daily in different ways since we were little young millennials at the grocery store looking at different magazines and tabloids and how different media outlets were criticizing these different pop culture icons' bodies, to the rise of social media where every single day you can be bombarded with thousands of images on what we should be looking like or what we should be doing or pursuing. And it really does feel, as millennials, struggling with body image has been built into our DNA. We've grown up in the 80s and 90s with almond moms through the fads of low-rise jeans, wellness culture, and now the age of Ozempic and influencers. And it's really hard to feel at home in your body when we've always been told it was a problem to be fixed, with many prescriptions on how we, quote, should be fixing it. And
Yeah.
so we are here to help you flip the script.
Yeah, and I think also too, it's like it's all about flipping the script, and it's also about a massive aha moment of trying to understand where is exactly did all of these belief systems come from, and then how can I unlearn, flip the script that we've been carrying subconsciously for years because it's been thrown at us over and over and over again for so long. So to me, it just feels so natural that this would be an experience that as millennials, we would be carrying around for so long. And why are we the ones talking about this? Why did we want to dive into it? And I think that's also multi layered as well. One of our favorite courses that we ever did together was the body image audit, where we really wrote and spent a lot of time thinking about how does our body image impact the way that we relate to food, nutritionists, and we see that over and over again when we try to integrate nutritional shifts and changes and things like that into people's lives, or even just a permission slip to be a little bit more flexible with food. It all comes clamming up right there in that body image center space of our bodies, right? We feel it and then we have a difficulty with it. So, of course, as licensed nutritionist with a lot of decade of experience at this point, we come from like our training is from a really toxic environment around food as medicine, right? That's where we were taught. And so through the anti-diet world and learning more about that, and then finding this middle ground of trying to create our wholehearted eating approach to nutrition, how we are marrying between evidence-based nutrition with nuance and without judgment and without morality. That's why. Because we have this really unique experience of seeing how health, wellness, and wellness culture and diet culture and body image intersect into this really complicated space for pretty much every person who's listening to this. If you're saying, "Oh, that's not me," that's freaking amazing. And that's amazing that you have skirted beyond this, and I would love to talk to you more about how. That's amazing. And I think, like, the majority of the time, one of the things that we come back to over and over again in our conversations together, Dana, is that we see that people tend to struggle with their relationships with food because they struggle with their relationship with their body. And if we don't understand why body image is a major contributing factor to why millennials and the way that millennials interact with food, then we can't really take a full root cause approach to our relationship with dieting and food. And so we have to understand that for us, the way that we see it is we deeply believe in taking a root cause approach. And so we have to look at the way body image plays such a pivotal role in the way that we interact with food and the way we interact with movement and the things that we believe about our body. And so as functional nutritionists, if we really want to get to the root, we have to talk about body image. It almost feels like impossible to not talk about it.
Yeah. And one of the most important things that we really want to emphasize for this podcast and for this community that we've been building is this is to meet you exactly where you are, no matter where you are. And so this is inclusive of as many people as possible. Because I find when I'm working with a lot of different people on body image, we'll do an intro call and they're like, what if I want to lose weight? Or what if I'm not okay with my body right now? Or what about this? And sometimes the anti-diet and body positivity spaces can feel very excluding, even though they are not intended to be by
Mhm.
any of those people. But it can feel like you're in a little bit of no man's land. It can feel like, okay, yes, I don't want to wake up and hate my body every single day. I don't want to engage in toxic diet culture. I don't want to live and die by these restrictive food protocols and all these different ridiculous wellness productivity checklists and everything. At the same time, all these different people are on Ozempic, or it seems like they're on Ozempic, and I'm uncomfortable with my body and I don't know what to do with all of this. And so we're trying to create the safest community possible for you to show up exactly as you are. And so we can help you work on your body image no matter where you're starting. And so we don't want you to feel like you have to be at a certain point in your journey in order to join us in all these different conversations. This is a safe space for everybody. And at the same time, in order to help create as inclusive and safe of a space as possible, it's obviously not just going to be us, two straight white women, talking about this, right? But we're going to be inviting a variety of expert guests to be talking about their own experience and their own expertise in body image, because body image is very intersectional. There's so many different marginalized identities within the world of body image that goes so far beyond our personal and our professional clinical experience. And so
Oh,
we find that is
100%.
one of the most important things that we will be doing in trying to create a safe space for conversations, but sometimes conversations that are going to be uncomfortable because body image is not comfortable to talk about, right? It's
Yeah.
really not. And we'll also be talking about relationship with food. We'll be talking about wellness. We'll be talking about nutrition, because these are the core places where our training comes from, where a lot of our clients come to us for. And at the root of those is really struggling with body image because of all of these different intersecting identities and systems that are at play. So yes, it's complicated. Yes, it's going to be a little bit uncomfy at times. And we're going to bring our signature humor, our no BS. We try to keep things lighthearted at the same time, because nobody wants to listen to a dissertation on body image. And here's all the reasons why you hate yourself. And so we're trying to help you navigate this
What a
with,
fun commute into work that would be.
seriously,
Let's
seriously.
just crack open the heart.
We want this community to feel like a friendship bracelet. We want it to feel like a warm hug when you need it, but also a side of encouragement and maybe a little bit of a side of tough love with the friendship bracelet, with the warm hug of this safe space and community that we'll be building.
100%. I think one of the things that I always come back to when I think about what we really want for people to know when it comes to like the openness of where you're coming from perspective is, we know that a lot of the people who listen to Wholehearted Eating and will listen to the Millennial Body Image Project will have the perspective of, I really, in my heart of hearts, want to denounce and reject fat phobia. I really want to reject diet culture. I don't want to engage in like the moralization of food and the moralization of bodies and the pathologizing of bodies. But I also feel like this nag inside of me that I want to protect myself from it, like at the same time. And that's where, to me, it seems it's so important that we want to make sure that we give you permission to be able to bring that here, bring that to this community. And we're going to give you permission to unlearn why you feel bad about your body and why this is so hard for you, with a lot of side jokes and a lot more probably quotes from Mean Girls and Clueless than you ever really wanted to hear. But I don't know if I can talk in other ways. So we are going to be bringing all of that to you. And we feel like it's just so important for you to know that this is where those conversations are going to be having. That's where we're going to have them. And we're going to bring on really exciting, cool people that we're really excited to learn from as well, to bring in and expand on that conversation so that we can really understand and say to ourselves, oh, snap, there it is. And there's that part of me that keeps coming up and saying, no. And why is that happening? This will really be able to help you understand how you can have a deeper understanding of the systemic factors that impact your body image. And we're going to provide you with the tools and insights so that you can have sustainable change over time. So we know that we have to have those types of conversations if we want to get to the place where we know we all want to be. And we want to have them here. And we want you to know that it's a really safe and really friendly, lighthearted place to have really difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking now, but I have tried intuitive eating and I can't do it, we're not talking about intuitive eating. If you're thinking, but what about my health? Or I have a chronic health condition, we are also here for all of those things. And in light of what Cristina just said about creating sustainable change, that was part of the reason that we are evolving still with the philosophy of wholehearted eating through everything that we do. But we also had to evolve because the culture around nutrition and health and weight health, according to Oprah, and body image is evolving. The culture is evolving. The verbiage is evolving in the age of Ozempic. And we want to be talking about how it is so complicated out here, especially on social media, is you'll see people who are like, oh, a non-diet approach to this, and I'm just about feeling my best in my body, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, also my Ozempic journey. And another big part of this is none of this is to shame anybody who is choosing to be or has found themselves on any part of their body image journey. Whether you're on Ozempic or whether you're not on Ozempic, this is a safe space for you. Whether you want to be on Ozempic, this is a safe space for you. We truly want to teach you how to make informed consent choices with whatever you are choosing to doing in your life without feeling bullied or tricked into something, because we're bringing that evidence-based approach. We're bringing that compassionate approach to chronic health conditions, to our relationship with food, to body image, and trying to bring all these different players to the table so you can make an informed consent decision on whatever you decide to do. We're diving into that complex web of body image and health and giving you permission to not feel bad about your body. Because the way that we feel about our bodies directly affects the way that we feel with and interact with food and nutrition information and body image information and health information, which all can directly affect the physical and mental health clinical presentation that you may have. So let's talk a little bit more about where we're going in terms of the podcast and the episodes and stuff. So what's coming up next, right? Our first couple of episodes are going to be very foundational. We're talking about where we've been, how we got here. In our first couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about big pop culture influences on millennial body image. We're going to be talking about healthism and the rise of functional medicine and all of these kind of extremist nutrition diets and stuff that have really been forcing us into pigeonhole of what we should, quote, should think we should be doing with our bodies and with our food. Where did these unique struggles that millennials face come from, and how do they continue to come up even now? We're going to be talking about intergenerational factors, about how the way that we were raised and the way our parents were raised and the way their parents were raised impact our generation and the way that our body image and our self-perception presents now. Then, of course, we're going to be moving forward to dive into, okay, what is the state of the union of body image and nutrition right now? And how do we weed our way through this nutrition jungle in a way that I can make informed consent decisions and also not feel so bad about myself all the time or so confused all the time? Because I do feel like one of the prevailing adjectives, I would say, for how a lot of people feel now about food and body image is just general confusion. Is how am I supposed to make a simple decision, or what could be simple, of what to eat today when I'm getting 27 different TikToks and reels of, oh, don't have this, you should have this, you shouldn't have this. It's just like a mental gymnastics thunderstorm is what we like to call it.
Yeah. I also think too, I just want to throw out there as well, don't worry, this isn't a full departure from the topics that we have always loved and discussed on wholehearted eating. But it is also hard to have a conversation about our relationship with food without getting to the root of why you have issue with your relationship with food and how heavily influenced we are by how we feel about our bodies and the systems at play. And so, yes, we're going to talk about and have episodes, especially these beginning episodes, like Dana said, these foundational episodes about the systems that are at play. But we're still going to be talking about nutrition. We're still going to be busting the ridiculous wellness trends that are out there. We're still going to have health-focused topics like perimenopause because, hello, we're millennials and we're getting closer and closer to that. And we're getting bombarded with TikToks and ads for all things perimenopause, gut health, burnout, hormone health, literally all of them. And we're still bringing in the realities of parenthood in this environment because that's something that I'm really passionate about. And we're going to continue bringing experts in talking about that too, and how this perspective and how we were raised and how that impacts the way that we're raising our children and how we can actually shift that next generation and really what we want to go forward for ourselves and for generations to follow.
Yes. So, welcome to the Millennial Body Image Project. We're going to be dismantling diet and wellness culture, weight stigma, calling out harmful messaging, and working through and discussing those intersectional systems that shape our perceptions and experiences of our bodies. We're going to be addressing these issues with compassion and clinical understanding. We're going to help you flip the script with us together and help you feel more at home in your body, even when it feels like all of the cards are stacked against us and have been stacked against us from the time we were probably 4 years old or even in the womb or not even a thought in our parents' brains. Welcome to a community where your body is not a project to be upgraded, but a home to be loved and respected. This is your body and our mission.
Welcome.
Hey friends, you thought we were done. Hee hee. We thought it would be fun for any of you who are new, or if you've been here for a while, welcome back, to do a little bit of an introduction to ourselves, a little bit about who we are and our background and kind of what makes us qualified to host this topic of a podcast, because it is a beast. So I'll go first. My name's Dana, so you can get used to our voices. Christina and I were just talking about before we started recording, whenever I start listening to a podcast and I am new to the podcast, for the first couple of episodes, I'm constantly trying to figure out which voice matches which host. So maybe that's just a me thing, but this is Dana over here bringing the Jersey sass always. You will hear that from me.
And me.
Yeah, apparently I bring it out of Christina as well. But we are two licensed dietitian, nutritionists, and body image coaches, and we've been working in this field for 10 years now.
Oh my gosh. 10 years.
We met over 10 years ago, Christina. We've been besties for almost
for a really
10
long
years,
time.
which is
working
crazy.
Parallel each other, and then slowly we were just kind of like, why are we doing this together?
Yes, and we both have dealt with chronic health conditions over the years, which led us to wanting to pursue different life paths than what we were already on. So for me, when I was in college and even before, I always wanted to be a lawyer. So I was working in politics for the first couple of years after college and then started to get progressively even more sick and was like, I want to kind of figure out what's going on here. And then as I was figuring out what was going on with me, I, with Christina, went and pursued a health coaching certificate. But then both of us were like, we can't legally practice with this certificate or degree or whatever it is in our
Not
states.
to the extent that is for sure.
Yeah, well, that's a conversation for another day because people are doing that anyways on the internet. But anyway,
Digress.
we decided to go back to school to get our master's in clinical nutrition and integrative health. And so that is where a lot of our background in the functional side of nutrition comes from. But then over the years, as we worked with more and more people, we saw that these therapeutically designed, but very inherently restrictive in nature protocols were really messing with people's relationship with food. Most notably when I, LOL, used to be a Whole30 coach for about a year and then very publicly, apparently, decided to quit that, which stirred up quite a storm in that community. And since then, which is what, 5-6 years ago at this point, both of our practices have been very focused on this intersection of intuitive eating and functional medicine, and also really helping people nourish their relationship with food and body image, whether they're working with chronic health conditions, which I would say is really my wheelhouse, and Christina's more on the eating disorder side of things, though she will definitely talk more about that. And working with people with gut issues and hormone health is one of my main passions. We see everybody from all walks of life. I also have a background as an athlete, so I work with a lot of kids who are athletes. I've coached swimming for about 15 years. So we have a diverse background here of different special interests. Christina, you go.
Well, hello, I'm Christina. Christina Hoyt is what you'll see on everything, all of the things. So we had a very similar, I'm not going to dive into all of the different things that Dana talked about, but yes, we did all the things with IIN and then our master's. And then I ended up working with a functional doctor's office for a couple of years as their in-house nutritionist. I facilitated different types of protocols and things like that. Honestly, I think what the big thing for me was is I kind of noticed two things. One, how do I navigate this with individuals who already have disordered eating or eating disorders? And it was really messy and really difficult to do that and not aligned with eating disorder treatment. That was a big aha for me. And the other part was noticing that it almost was like opening a gate to disordered eating or doubling down on disordered eating when I would work with clients and patients at this doctor's office and individually. Honestly, it was not just at the doctor's office. I had private clients too, where I noticed it was really difficult for people to cultivate a more positive relationship with food afterwards. And most of the time, it came down to being really scared of food. And for me, as someone who really loves cooking and preparing food and went into nutrition and all of this stuff, it was really sad and hard to kind of watch these people's relationship with food just become so diminished that it ultimately didn't align with my long term values. And so we kind of together, we talked about this a lot on our own together about navigating this and how does this work and how it just didn't feel right for us and for, a lot of time for myself. And I noticed with my clients too and the patients that it left people feeling more challenged by their relationship with food. And so ultimately the idea was that we started going down a different path and I ended up really specializing in disordered eating and eating disorders, working with teens, kids, like all the way up to grown adults, people at various different levels of eating disorder treatment. So some people come to me for an evaluation for potentially needing a higher level of care, and I'll do assessments for that. Some people are coming to me because they just came out of a higher level of care. Some people are coming to me because their parents made them. And then those are the teens. And and then other people I see because they just feel like their relationship with food has been really combative for a really long time. Some of them have chronic illnesses that they're also trying to navigate. And so we play around with that together. And what's really fun is when me and Dana collaborate with patients together. We'll do a little bit of this and a little bit of that kind of side by side, which is really fun. But yeah, that's really ultimately kind of my story and perspective. I also will bring up too is I guess another unique piece too is that I'm also a parent. I have two young kids. I have a 6-year-old and almost a 6-year-old. By the time you're hearing this, she'll be like 6 in 2 days. So I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old almost. And that has really shaped a lot of my perspective of wanting to support parents and families with almost in a way like my own version of preventative care, although I do not think parents give children disordered eating or eating disorders. Do not think that. That's not what I'm saying at all. So don't come for me. I guess my point is it really provided me a place of a lot of compassion and a lot of interest in sharing and supporting parents through a really complex culture that is starting really young and how do we navigate that so that's also a big piece. You might see guests on here that I'm just talking to about the parenting experience and navigating that and all of those things too. So that's something else to keep in mind that you might see on the podcast.
Yeah, so just a little short and sweet introduction to us and how we came to be here. I'm sure we'll do an extended version of this at some point, but we just thought it would be fun to include this with our first episode in case any of you are new around here and just getting to know us a little bit. If you want more content like this, which is more behind the scenes, very chill content, or extended conversations based on what's going on the main feed, we do have a Patreon community that's called You Can Sit With Us. And we do have a couple really fun bonus episodes coming up over there this month. If you want a little preview into next week's episode on next Wednesday, because our episodes will come out every Wednesday, it's called Your Body Is Not a Report Card. So you all can listen or look forward to that. And then we're going to have a bonus episode coming out right after that on Patreon that will be called Is Weight a Symptom? So We'll see you all next week.
Stay tuned.
Meh.